Alright, test, test, test. Perfect. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last round of the Swiss of the Theros Game Day at Midgard Gaming. This is Chris Stoyles. I've drawn in, I hope, successfully to the top 8. So I don't have deck lists, of course, so it's not like I'm getting any information about these players' decks I didn't already know. So let's watch some magic here. So we've got on one side we have Peter Deal. Peter is playing a very typical deck for him. It is a mono green deck. So there's a little bit of the devotion in there with the Reverend Hunter and cards like that. He's also got, of course, Pelucranos. And just other than that, you know, just large creatures. So he is going up against Andrew Burden, I think is Burden? I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He is on the left-hand side of your screen. He is playing a green-red monsters deck, so it's very typical to the list that we've seen from the Pro Tour and other previous tournaments as well. Just red-green. I play really fat things, and if you can't deal with them, then they will just crush you. So that is what we're in for. Green on green, fat on fat. It's always exciting magic to watch. Much more exciting than, you know, blue-white control mirrors, which is just land go for the first about 10 turns of the game. Unless someone casts a divination somewhere. At which point someone else casts a counterspell. And then probably a planeswalker to follow. But hey, what can you do? So I'm just going to go let the players know that we are all set up, and we'll be able to get this match underway. Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to get our players completely squared up here, and we'll be able to start the match. Just got to make sure that all the that the playmats and all the cards and everything are in the appropriate areas within the frame, so that you guys have the best view of all the action. And I think if Peter's playmat moves down a little bit, then he should be good to go. Thank you. I think if Peter's just slid down like a little bit to... Yeah. Okay. Alright, good enough. Alright, so
Confined spaces.
hopefully you guys are going to be able to see everything there now. I think we should be alright. So player's going to draw their opening hands, and here's something that's interesting about Peter's deck. He is actually main decking Ranger's Guile. So he's taking a hedge against all the black decks that are playing Doomblade, playing Hero's Downfall, all those sort of spot removal spells. He's just taking a hedge and wants to protect his creatures. You see he is going to ship his hand here, though. Didn't have enough action. It looks like Andrew's content. I think I see a Xenagos, two Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, that is in fact a Xenagos. There's Temple, there's a couple of lands, and there's one more card in there. I can't quite make out what it is. I think it might be a Gore Clan Rampager, the F&M promo one. I think. So he is satisfied. Peter, of course, was not. Alright. So Andrew going to give Peter's deck a little shuffle and represent. There we go. Let's see if Peter can find an acceptable 6. Okay, so I think I see a Boonsayer. That's a Pelucranos, the Scavenging Ooze, Reverend Hunter. I think there's a couple of lands, so he's happy. And we're going to get underway. So Forest from Peter is met by Temple of Abandon from Andrews, the new cycle of Scry lands. Definitely cool lands from Theros. They are a little slow, but usually that's not too much of an issue. Alright, so it looks like Andrew is not going to waste any time dealing with Scavenging Ooze. Just wants to get that off the board. Can't really blame him there. And Elvish Mystic going to come down for Peter. That will be met by an Elvish Mystic for Andrew, as well as a Scavenging Ooze of his own. Alright, so we got a little bit of action going on here. We see I believe that was another Reverend Hunter drawn. And Peter is just going to go straight into Pelucranos World Eater. So the new legendary Hydra from Theros, 5/5 for 4, with a monstrous of green XX, and put X +1/+1 counters on Pelucranos. And then the other factor of that is that once he becomes monstrous, he deals X damage to a creature, or divided as you choose among any number of creatures, and then those creatures deal damage equal to their power back to Pelucranos. So we see Andrew is going to follow up his attack with Scavenging Ooze with a Xenagos Reveler, and he's going to use the plus ability to create 2 mana, and that 2 mana is going to be used to create a Scavenging Ooze. So remember that it creates mana equal to the number of creatures you control. So if he wants to, he will have access to at least 7 mana next turn, which is not an irrelevant number. See a 4th land off the top for Peter. So I think we're going to see if he's going to go monstrous. He is not. He instead is going to play Nelia, God of the Hunt. So Nelia, of course, is one of the cycle of mythic god cards that came out in Theros, all of which are very, very interesting. I know I'm playing one of Heliod in my black-white deck, and I have been very impressed by it. He's been phenomenal. So it looks like we see a block here on the Pelucranos with the Elvish Mystic. Now, it's interesting to see if this attack went to Xenagos or to Andrew, and it went to Xenagos. I don't think Andrew realized, you see Peter pointing at his Nelia there, I don't think he realized that the trample was enacted on the Pelucranos from Nelia, so even with the chump with the Mystic, the Xenagos does still die. So we see another land. I think I see that an Ember Swallower in hand for Andrew, and something else. I'm pretty sure that's the Gorkland Rampager, the promo one again. And that is, in fact, the contents of his hand. So I imagine we're going to see an Ember Swallower come out here. Now, this is a little bit of a mistap. Probably should have left a green mana open. And so we see an attack for 5. And we're going to pass the turn. So I think that was another Reverend Hunter drawn. That would, in fact, activate Nelia. The devotion would be 5. Alright, here comes Reverend Hunter. So for anyone unfamiliar with this is a draft bomb, but also making waves in limited or in standard as well. It's 1/1 for 3 mana, and when it enters the battlefield, it gets a number of +1/+1 counters equal to your devotion to green, which is of course 5 at this current in this current board state. So Reverend Hunter will come in as a 6/6, and because of Nelia, of course, it does have trample. And we see an attack here with Nelia and Pelucranos. This is an attack for 11. Very large amount. And he can do this safely, of course, because with that Reverend Hunter being a 6/6, it's able to stave off the creatures that Andrew currently has. And so he is able to just bash in. And it looks like we're going to see a block on the Pelucranos here. Oh, no, never mind. He's going to change that. Go with the Nelia. Makes sense. Reduces another point of damage. So he is going to take 5 and drop to 16. And I believe that was a Domre Raid drawn. Yeah, that was in fact Domre Raid. So again, a little bit of a mistap on the mana here. If Andrew had tapped that differently, he would have been able to keep open the dual land there in order to Blood Rush. And I think he's now realizing that. And Okay, looks like he's gonna tap it that way instead. All right, so Peter's gonna let him take it back. Of course, this is game day. This is regular Ariel. So you know, you want to be a nice guy, you can be. Okay, so it looks like Andrew here is actually going to go on the plan of fighting off the Elvish Mystic with one of the Scavenging Oozes. Now, what this does is it reduces the devotion so that Nelia is no longer active. Now, this is This attack here really telegraphs Gore Clan Rampager into the 6/6 Reverend Hunter. So we're going to see if Peter bites here. The interesting thing to note would be if the Domrad fought off the Scavenging Ooze that had the counter on it, the Reverend Hunter would still trade with it after Gore Clanning, so... Alright, looks like Peter's going to make him have it, and there it is. And also the retap of the mana there was also a telegraphing of the Gore Clan, so it looks like the trade's going to happen. 3 damage going to come through, drop Peter to 10. And now the board is Pelucranos and Nelia versus Domrad and Scavenging Ooze. Domrad, I'm assuming, going to bite the dust this turn at the hands of Pelucranos. And we're just going to see a follow-up Reverend Hunter? No? Okay, we're going to see a Burning Tree. Oh, that's actually really good. Wow. So that is going to add extra devotion. So that's going to come in with 6 +1/+1 counters on it, and the Nelia once again activated. So Burning Tree Emissary, huge there for Peter.
Where's the money, Bob? No, I didn't. I saw you walk down there, so I followed you, but maybe not.
Alright, so Domrad reveals an Ember Swallower for Andrew. So it looks like, yeah, Peter just went right into the head with his Pelucranos and Nelia, which I can't actually blame him for here. Like, there is an argument to taking out Domre, but at this point, Peter's creatures just vastly outclass the creatures that Andrew could have. So you see Scavenging Ooze is going to eat a couple of dudes, going to gain a couple of life. And I imagine we're going to see the Ember Swallower played after that. No attacks can be made, of course. That Reverend Hunter is really, really large. And it does trample. So as expected, the Ember Swallower does come down. So the question here is, does Peter still have lethal? There's 10 toughness on the board. Now, blocking Nelly can prevent 6. And blocking the Pelucranos can prevent 5. So if the Nelia gets blocked, and okay, yeah. So the Nelia's pump is in fact going to take it down. Nelia, of course, 4-mana activation gives +2/+2, and that is going to be enough. All right, so time for these players to go to their sideboards. I can't really make out what the players are sideboarding. So we're just going to have to see what happens here. Of course, again, where this is regular Ariel, there are no deck lists for this event. So it's not like I have the information right in front of me. Alright, so it looks like Andrew is bringing in, I believe, 3 cards. Peter might be looking at bringing in a couple as well. And so we're going to find out if, after board, Andrew can bring this back and take game number 2. So once again, everyone, thank you for watching. We have 8 viewers currently, so thank you guys for tuning in. You are watching Midgard Gaming's Theros Game Day. Of course, this is Chris Doyle's bringing you commentary for this round. Not for next, hopefully. I'm about 99% sure that I just successfully drew into top 8 at the top of the X1 breakers. So if that is the case, then I will be playing at the start of the top 8. But if things don't go according to plan there, I am likely able to come back and continue coverage right through until the end of the day. So this whole idea of devotion decks is something new, of course, to Theros with the devotion mechanic, but it's something that has been really taking the field by storm. Every single color, as of late, seems to have a dedicated monocolored devotion deck to it. Of course, the only one that hasn't really been appearing much is mono white. But of course, there is still stuff to be said for that deck. I mean, Heliod is really powerful. You've got the Precinct Captains, Judges Familiars, Soldier of the Pantheons, all that stuff to help with devotion. Nykthos is still really powerful. And you can also use the mana to accelerate into creatures like Angel of Serenity and things like that. So just really, really big creatures. So we see a turn 2 Sylvan Carotid. And the awkward Burning Tree Emissary with no follow-up for Peter. So Sylvan Carotid is going to come down. This new mana dork from Theros, of course. It is a hexproof mana creature. And, oof, okay. So we see a turn 3 Xenagos the Reveler. Very powerful play from Andrew here. He's going to attack with the Hasty Satyr token. Peter does opt not to trade. I think he wants to get in at Xenagos here. Here comes a Reverend Hunter with 3 counters on it, so that is going to be a 4/4. And Burning Tree Emissary is going to get into Xenagos. Xenagos is down to 1. Alright, so we're going to see a Elysium Mortars, exactly enough damage to knock out the Reverend Hunter. Andrew does not want to have to deal with that. And looks like he's thinking about getting in here, or thinking about what to do with the Xenagos maybe, make some mana, and that's what he's going to do. So Xenagos will plus create 2 mana, as there is 2 creatures in play, of course. And so it looks like we're going to have 3 mana. Oh, Domre Rod. That's definitely a good play. So Satyr going to come in. And I assume Domre is going to... Domre is just going to trade off. Alright, so Andrew is trying to negate the devotion on Peter's side of the board. Definitely not a bad play. But we could just see, there's the World Eater. There's Pelukronos. So Pelukronos World Eater going to come down again. That card has been a real problem for a lot of decks in Standard. This is the major weapon of the green decks against the mono blue devotion deck, as we were talking about, with all the colors generally having a devotion deck associated with them. The mono blue deck, of course, took the Pro Tour. I believe it was 3 of the top 4 decks were this mono blue devotion deck with Thassa and Master of Waves and all that, all those creatures. So that deck did very, very well. And 5 mana off of Xenagos. 1 mana off Xenagos, giving 5 mana, and that is going to allow Stormbreath Dragon to come down and get in for 4. Alright, so 5th land. This is game 2. Peter currently leads.
Peter's off the game?
Yeah. Alright, so 5th land for Peter. Pelukronos could activate for 2, but that wouldn't really get him very far. I'm assuming Pelukronos is going to take out one of these 2 planeswalkers. The question is which. If I had to guess, with Andrew constricted on mana, I think it's going to be Xenagos. But I could be wrong. So you see, there's another Xenagos, it looks like, in hand for Andrew. And Xenagos is going to bite the dust. We see a Colonian Tusker and an Elvish Mystic coming down. All right, so adding a little bit more presence to the board. So I think the problem that we're seeing here is that Pelucanos is just being more than Andrew can really deal with. Of course, his removal is Misium Mortars, which only deals 4 damage. Pelucanos is a 5/5. Alright, so Domri going to tick up. No reveal. Peter's got to be happy about that. So are we going to see a Xenagos come down again? So we see an Elvish Mystic. So it looks like we are, in fact, going to see Xenagos. There he is. Xenagos comes back. And I'm going to assume it's going to make another Satyr token. So it does. And, yeah, I can only imagine Dragon going to come in. Peter will be knocked to 8. So that Dragon is actually lethal in 2 turns. So Peter does have to try and muster something against that. Actually, next turn the Dragon is able to Monstrous and present lethal damage. Alright, so the Monstrous is for 3. That is not enough to take down the Dragon. So what it is going to do is knock out the Elvish Mystic and the Satyr token. So what this is presenting is the possibility that Andrew might not see the Xenagos activation on his turn in order to Monstrous this Dragon. Of course, he can do that with the current board because the Xenagos will present 2 mana. Carried adds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from his land. So the Dragon is still threatening a Monstrous. The option here is that he can attack in at Xenagos to kill it here. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that. Also quite possible that he just attacks Damirod as well, since he cannot block the Xenagos or the Dragon anyway. Of course, we know that there's a Gorklan Rampager sitting in hand for Andrew, which will present lethal damage. So at this stage, Andrew is able to just reveal the Gorklan and Peter will concede. There is nothing he can do. But, of course, he's going to make him play it out here. Peter is thinking about his options. He's trying to decide if there is any way he can survive the next turn. Of course, we know that there is not, but he does not know that. The Hydra does not reach, nor does the Tusker, so... You see, it looks like Andrew's getting a little bit angsty here. He's, filling with his lands, tapping his cards around. He knows that he's representing lethal next turn in more ways than one. One way is on the table for Peter to see. The other way is in Andrew's hand, in the form of the Gorklan Rampager. So, Colony and Tusker are going to get in at the Xenagos. Peter is going to get in then with the Pelucranos at Andrew, hitting him for 8, knocking him to 12. Andrew's just going to untap, attack with the Dragon, Blood Rush for lethal. It looks like Peter just had lands in his hand. All right. So game number 2 will be taken by Andrew, and we will have a game 3 for you here. Mono green pseudo devotion versus red green monsters. Matchup is now tied. Peter will be on the play for game 3, which is extremely relevant. So I don't know if our chat is working or not. Does not appear to be, because it's telling me undefined. So I don't know what's going on with it. I think it's just Twitch being finicky. But that's fine. So it looks like Peter's thinking about making some adjustments with his sideboard. I'm sure there's different things that he's thinking about doing here. I saw him have pull the Nelia's Disciple out towards the front of his deck, or his sideboard, so it's very possible he wants to bring those in against the somewhat aggressive deck from Andrew. He is playing red-green. He does have the potential to just have very strong, fast draws. So one deck that I was thinking about trying at some point in the future is something similar to Peter's. It's kind of a meeting point between Peter's and Andrew's deck, is a red-green Devotion deck. It's basically the same idea of the mono-green deck with Devotion, but, you splash cards like Damirod and Gore Clan Rampager. Okay. So the player's just going to finish shuffling up here now. We'll be able to get this green on green underway once again. Alright, so the first draw for Andrew is a Nykthos. Looks like 3 lands, a Gore Clan, a 4th land, a Pelucranos, and a Damirod. So this hand, a little slow from Andrew, but I can't see him mulliganing it, and he does not. Alright, Elvish Mystic is the lead, and geez, what a draw. Mystic off the top for Andrew. So that is going to allow him to accelerate into turn 2 Damirod. And are we going to see another Mystic? No, we are going to see an Experiment 1 into double Burning Tree Emissary. So Experiment 1 will evolve once. Alright, so Peter is on the I'm going to flood the board plan, and now the turn 2 Damirod looks a lot less impressive. Because it's going to come down, it's going to look at the top card, and then just die. So it looks like he's thinking about it. He might be thinking about getting in and like trying to bait a block and then Gore Clanning, but I can't see Peter having a problem with that occurring if that were to happen. So Andrew has receded into the tank here. He just really doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. He is just going to ship the turn, and I can't argue with this play very much, because, I mean, while you're not advancing your board, by playing the Damirod, you're not really advancing your board that way either. But now we're going to see Colonian Tusker come down, evolve Experiment 1, and Peter is going to get aggressive here. coming across with all of his creatures. And Andrew has no choice but to take it all. So that's an attack for 8. So that is going to knock Andrew down to 12. And then he's going to pass the turn. Is Peter. So looks like Andrew thinking about playing Nykthos. It does. Excuse me. And we're going to see a 4-drop, probably Pelucranos. There is the World Eater on Andrew's side of the board this time. The question is Peter's board just big? Oh my god, there's a Nykthos. Oh my. Alright, Nykthos currently taps for Peter for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green mana. So he can make 9 mana this turn. And that's just crazy. So, yep. Here is Pelucranos. Here is Nelia. And here comes the team. Pelucranos going to block Colonian Tusker. Take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. That is going to put Andrew down to 2 life. And I don't see what Andrew can draw that gets him out of this. Mizzy Mortar is not going to do it.
What's it under here? Well, it's under here.
We might be seeing Mono Green advance into our top 8 here. So he's looking at the Mizzy Mortars. I think he realizes that doesn't do very much. He could play Dombre Rod and try and do something with that, but there's really not much he can do with that either. I think that no matter what avenue gets taken here, Andrew's just dead in the water. That Shrine currently next turn represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. 10 potential mana. But that could Monstrous the Pelucranos for 4. Which is enough to remove the Mystic. And look, like Andrew was looking at that Mizzy Mortars, but I think he realizes that just doesn't do anything. It makes 2 less mana on the Pelucranos, but keep in mind that the Nelia gives everything but herself trample. So that 5/5 Experiment one and the 5/5 Pelucranos both have trample, as well as the Burning Tree Emissaries. So that Elvish Mystic cannot effectively chump block. All it can do is negate 1 point of damage, which with Andrew sitting at what I believe is 2 life, that's not exactly going to do much. It's also possible that the Nykthos could be activated next turn. He could just pump both his Burning Trees with the Nelia and get in that way. And like Andrew's dead in so many ways. So Dombre Rod is going to be the play. Assuming he's going to fight off a Burning Tree with the Pelucranos. He cannot trade. He's just dead if he does. He is going to fight off a Burning Tree Emissary. Peter says, that's fine. I think you're still dead. Because the Elvish Mystic is going to block the Nelia. The Pelucranos is going to block the Pelucranos. And then that attack is then for 5, 6, 7, 8... Because Nelia, of course, is still online. Here comes the team. I believe we're going to see a handshake in 3, 2, 1. There's the reveal of the hand. There's a look at the top. And there's the concession. Alright, Peter Deal will take down the match 2-1 over Andrew Burton. Mono Green Devotion defeats Green Red Monsters. And that is going to advance Peter into the top 8. I don't believe it knocks Andrew completely out of contention. However, he is certainly not a lock. Alright folks, so we are going to take a quick break. We are going to get the top 8 sorted out. And then we will begin the stream again. I will not be here for the first round. I will be playing. If I lose